Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here, and in this video I'm going to be channeling Adronis as we're going to be talking about the span of renewal, 2025 to 2035. We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We will be speaking to you today in regards to the probable understandings of a span of time that awaits you. We have previously discussed the idea of the span of change from 2016 to 2024. And now we move into the span of renewal, 2025 to 2035. Now, through the aspect of the span of change, overall, you are going to see everything revamping itself. Everything is going to be pulled out by its roots and exposed by all of you. For you are the catalysts that are bringing about this grand change taking place upon your planet. This will invite in the opportunities of new governments, new opportunities to replace much of your monetary system with more practicality, with more of the nature of goods, with more of the nature of legal tender, even with the ideas of digital cryptocurrencies. And that is going to move yourself into the benchmarks where you will also start to discover opportunities that will advance you past any particular degree of monetary framework. As you again continue onwards, you will notice that new technologies will start to be developed. That these new technologies will be true innovations within your own fields, representing technologies that are functioning more within the quantum sources of consciousness, where you are understanding that the pharmaceutical industries will start to be on their way out. This will still be several years before this takes place, but the idea in that sense is that much of these technologies are going to go fast and far beyond anything that you would consider to be your conventional medicines as it relates to much of your Western society. Basically, much of these particular types of technology will also function on free energy and even new transportation devices as well too. We have also discussed that there are certain technologies that have been handed down through many of the European agencies in that way, or European organizations, to basically invite the opportunity for these particular forms of inventions to be reverse engineered and publicly shared. Much of this again relates to the idea of new transit operations that will represent the idea of increased transit mobility, where the aspect of going from one side of your world to the other side of the world will be available to you within the years ahead, and being able to have this particular type of transit available in simply a matter of hours. So that, again, is one particular invention that is coming about. There are also the works now as it relates to anti-gravitational technology, being able to work more diligently in helping you understand that, yes, acoustic levitation is indeed possible, and it has been something that has been under lock and key for quite some time. And that your own scientists, primarily in the area that you would know as Germany, will be looking into this very, very strongly. Also areas in Russia, also areas in India. So again, much in regards to your Europe and Asian continents, will begin firstly by developing these types of technologies. So you would understand that they would be more introduced within the East before the West in that particular way. As this therefore becomes noticed, the West will therefore pick up from that regime and start to, shall we say, go with the flow eventually. This again will lead also into what is known as teleportation technology, which again, Germany, Russia, even certain areas of Asia, including India, will eventually be looking into more diligently. Now, much in regards to the idea of teleportation will function more so into what you would know as atomic vibrational coherence. So basically working together with atoms or molecules that will actually be able to transport one molecule from one particular property into another particular variable property. This again is something that is being worked on in the laboratories right now. But because there will be certain forms of machines, technology, that will be handed over to some of these companies, organizations, laboratories together, that were once existing within your own interior of the planet through certain installations, this will basically give a trigger ahead for many of these particular forms of organizations, agencies, laboratories, to begin constructing a reverse engineered aspect, something public that would become available. This will eventually, again not right away, but eventually lead into what is known as portal technology or Stargate technology. That is something that will be a little bit more further ahead, but most definitely will be a part of your own planetary space. We have also talked about, throughout the span of change, the idea of solar changes. That yes, the idea of the sun starting to emit certain coronal mass ejections will be coming upon your planet. But now looking into the idea of the span of renewal between 2025 and 2035, well, if the sun is continuing to create these solar mass ejections that are taking place upon the planet, will you be in fourth density? Not yet. It is the idea, again, that you are going through the transitional experience of the fourth density energy. As we've stated, that within 2016, you have become a fourth density compliant planet, which means you are just starting to put your foot in the door. But again, as we have stated, it will take approximately 50 to 100 years for you to be fully immersed into a fourth density planet entirely. So that time will come. But during 2025 and 2035, there will be a significant amount of technological advancements. One of these particular technological advancements is already happening now, and it is what you would refer to as artificial intelligence virtual reality. And that virtual reality, in that sense, will become very much more appealing upon your planet. This is eventually going to lead into a type of cybernetic immersion, or what many of you may refer to as cybernetic transhumanism. And that basically throughout 2025 to 2035, many of you will start to notice much of the physical splitting of worlds that you are going through right now. The idea that is the third density crowd and is the fourth density crowd will become much more clearly understood and acknowledged. Now, much in regards to those particular people who are very much into the heart of artificial intelligence, will simply decide that it is possible for human beings to work through their own consciousness and embed themselves into artificial intelligent displays, artificial intelligent hardware that will actually wire you up into what you would know as a digitized version of the astral realm, where the idea and the great appeal is that you will feel that you have many different forms of ascended abilities, although existing within a digital universe. And many of you, possibly, could be so appealed by this that you will basically agree to have your own body put into a type of stasis and being able to exist within a holographic digital interface. And again, this represents a reference to cybernetic transhumanism. But of course, there will be another crowd who wants nothing to do with that, and will move much more into the idea of eco-villages, of indigenous civilizations, and working more diligently in connecting with nature. But there will be those who are very technocratic and will want to follow the way of technology. Now, neither is wrong together. It's all about the nature of choice. But that is really where your technology is going. You will basically look into a great, shall we say, prolific shift as it relates to the idea of artificial intelligence. This is very much going to be a part of your plane. Now, artificial intelligence can have many different meanings to it. It is not the idea that it must be seen as something as an enslavement program, but it is something that is getting a great full head of steam that is now starting to take place upon your planet. The whole idea in regards to rogue artificial intelligence is that much of this is attempting to be swept up and sanitized. But there will be still the aspect of domestic artificial intelligence, and that this can still lead to such connections, similar to what a universal rogue AI can still therefore represent in regards to the idea of, shall we say, cold logic situations. many people will actually have no problem surrendering themselves, putting themselves in stasis, and actually being able to implement themselves into a digital universe, representing that of transhumanism. So this aspect, on a cybernetic level of transhumanism, will be something that it will get much more of a full head of steam between these times of 2025 and 2035. But there will also be many other things that will represent a looking up towards humanity. That there will be so much more contributions as it represents to your monetary systems and into the idea of what you term as business. The aspect is that will more so fully surrender to the idea of organizations that are committed to assisting in redeveloping much of the lands upon your planet, such as your deserts, such as areas that have had severe drought, other areas that have basically seemed to be uninhabitable, or therefore termed to be uninhabitable. This may also represent the idea of being able to transform some place like Chernobyl back into a living location, a living area upon your planet, as there will be developments about how you can actually nullify radiation. It is actually possible to work together with nullifying radiation. Inventions are already available, working together with processing magnetic fields. Magnetic fields, when properly implemented, that are developing frequencies, have the ability to bypass radiation. This is what many of your scientists will discover. So through the areas of Fukushima, through the areas of Chernobyl, and through other particular radioactive areas across your planet, through the development of such of these technologies, you will be able to nullify the radiation, representing that of magnetic fields and frequency acoustic vibrations. This is actually what's allowing radiation to become completely inert. This is also what can assist you in helping to clean up your air and clean up your water supplies. This, again, will be very much a large movement throughout the span of renewal. So the reason why we are terming this the span of renewal is because you're seeing a very different Earth unfolding within this, shall we say, 10 to 11 year span. That after the span of change, after you have worked to change and improve yourselves, and that you have cleaned up much of the debris left in the background, you will now be able to renew yourselves, revamp yourselves, and become part of an entirely new Earth. We will also state that there will be significant talks as it relates to extraterrestrial disclosure that will be taking place more so around the time of 2025 to 2035. That there will be certain forms of discussions that are taking place. By this time, many of you will already be aware that the possibility of other civilizations existing beyond your world is most definitely a certainty. Because again, there will be more introductions from where you are right now. Firstly, it will begin with exoplanets, then it will be relating to phenomena contained within your own star system, as well as the exoplanets, that would represent microbial life, plant life, vegetation life, animal life, and then eventually sentient life. So this is something that will still take a couple of more years for that to be fully disclosed. But again, there is the idea of, shall we say, nurturing the appropriate steps as it pertains to disclosure. Moving you forward in understanding that, yes, other civilizations exist. Now, primarily to the common audience that we are speaking to, it is a quote-unquote no-brainer that the idea of other civilizations exists because you're talking to one member of these civilizations right now. But the whole idea is that many of you will start to welcome others who are just starting to step outside the box and realizing that it is, most importantly, about being able to transform yourselves, about being able to renew yourselves and renew the earth, working together with her. Well, Adronis, what about the corona mass ejections between 2025 and 2035? Is this going to bring forward such a risk that we may not even have electricity or even common technologies upon our planet? What we will basically say is that there are already backups being created right now that will eventually switch you from what you would know as an electromagnetic grid to what you would know more so as a torsion or electromagnetheric grid. That is already starting to take place right now. There are already developments helping to basically funnel much more of the zero-point energy fields. And again, this is why zero-point energy is one of these particular examples of technology that is coming into the later point of the span of change and will continue to progress throughout the span of renewal, is that there will be certain forms of power facilities that will be working with Tesla technology, that will also be working with zero-point technology, and will basically be a replacement, very much similar to what many of you would refer to as your Y2K scare. And that many of you who felt that Y2K scare was all about the idea of not being able to use computer systems and having, in that sense, electrical downtime. But basically, this is what is happening, is relating to the idea of updated hardware, updated software, updated mechanisms that will actually work with your planet to, shall we say, even in a very subtle way, switching you to other particular power systems that will, when appropriately, be revealed to many of you. So many of you are discovering that the aspects of Tesla technology would be much more of the sufficient way of free energy upon your planet. That the idea of zero-point energy and electromagnetic energy, torsion energy in that sense, will become much more of the way of a practicality for you to continue upon the planet. And so there have been many different forms of executive orders done throughout many countries that are silently building these particular types of plants that will therefore begin to pop up around your planet during the times of much of these solar storms. And again, it is an estimation that between the times of 2020 to 2025, that these would be more of the intense periods to where much of the solar storms will continue. And it may also continue to escalate a year or two more even after that. Again, everything truly is possible at this particular point. The idea, again, is that through the span of renewal, many of you will start to work together in your own particular ways of councils. Again, what this means is that Samaritan energies will become the prominent form in regards to the state of your governance, which means that governments of your world will still exist, but many of you will choose to opt out of it, and there will be no retaliation in your ability to opt out of your own personal country's governments during that time within the span of renewal. Many of you will actually be able to, again, go indigenous, to working together in community-based operations, and working together in the idea of leadership, councils, etc., that will allow you to live very indigenously. But there will be those who will still want to follow much of the technological routes, the technical routes, moving into artificial intelligence, moving into cybernetic transhumanism, whereas others are looking more towards spiritual transhumanism. And so there will most definitely be a divide around that particular time. So again, between 2025 and 2035, that there will be certain forms of nations, countries, that will be discussing certain matters as it relates to the extraterrestrial presence. But as we have stated, that the aspect of a full global contact disclosure will be happening very roughly around 2050, perhaps a few years before, or perhaps a few years after. So if we were to estimate between the years of what you would know as 2046 to 2054. But basically the whole idea here is that many of these particular countries are starting to work together very secretly with extraterrestrial races that represent the idea of assisting humanity with restoring the earth and being able to bring forward an integration where humanity and other extraterrestrial civilizations will eventually be inaugurated together. This represents the fourth span. So, the first span that we have discussed has represented that of the span of critical mass, 2010 to 2015. The second span, the span of change. The third span, the span of renewal. And the fourth span, which we will eventually talk about more down the road, as it were, which represents that of 2036 to 2050. What we would refer to as the span of inauguration, or the span of galactic inauguration. Between the years of 2036, 2050, this will be the paving period, where you will now start walking the path of becoming a fully integrative galactic society, where you will now start to take yourselves to the stars, where the idea of public degrees relating to you touching the stars being able to leave your world will become much more of an availability to many common people. But that is a discussion for another time. We want to thank you for this timing as it relates to that of the span of renewal, the time to where you will work with the earth, you will share with each other, you will develop yourselves, you will bring yourselves into a greater state of unity and working in harmony with your nature, many of you, and noticing this grander splitting of worlds that will immerse you further into the fourth density, Earth. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. We'll speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So feel free to go to realitywhisperer.com. Feel free, if you would like to have a private session with Adronis, that is certainly available to you through anybody all across the world, through Skype and through phone as well. Digital courses available, light circuitry attunements, of course, free media that is available on the website as well. And I'm going to be doing a lot more tours coming up here in the next little while. 2017 has definitely been a very strong traveling year for me. So I'm looking forward to visiting new places. And again, just sharing all this information that I'm receiving through Universal Mind and also receiving through the channeling of Adronis and other particular energies that are also coming through as well. So again, thank you everybody for your continued support and your continued love in just being able to pass this sharing on wherever you can, because that's just what it's all about, is the message itself. So thank you so much for being part of this beautiful substance of sharing and your own work and your own passions as well too. I just want to take a moment to share that with all of you guys, and thank you so much for continuing to participate with this channel and share this information. So thank you again, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next video. Namaste, and may it be well with you. Goodbye.